Track cycling is a bicycle racing sport usually held on specially built bank tracks or velodromes using track bicycles. History. Track cycling has been around since at least 1870. When cycling was in its infancy, wooden indoor tracks were laid which resemble those of modern velodromes, consisting of two straights and slightly banked turns. One appeal of indoor track racing was that spectators could be easily controlled, and hence an entrance fee could be charged, making track racing a lucrative sport. Early track races attracted crowds of up to 2,000 people. Indoor tracks also enabled year-round cycling for the first time. The main early centres for track racing in Britain were Birmingham, Sheffield, Liverpool, Manchester and London. The most noticeable changes in over a century of track cycling have concerned the bikes themselves, engineered to be lighter and more aerodynamic to enable ever faster times. With the exception of the 1912 Olympics, track cycling has been featured in every modern Olympic Games. Women's track cycling was first included in the modern Olympics in 1988. Riding position. Aerodynamic drag is a significant factor in both road and track racing. Frames are often constructed of molded carbon fiber, for a lightweight design, although more traditionally frames are constructed from steel, aluminium, or other metal alloys. More recently, track bikes have employed airfoil designs on the tubes of the frame to reduce aerodynamic drag. On a dedicated track bicycle there are few components, with no need for brakes or derailleurs. In fact, the only moving part on a bicycle is the drivetrain, which includes the cranks, pedals, the single chainring, one cog fixed to the hub without a freewheel mechanism and the chain itself. Because of this, the need for aerodynamic components is minimized, and the aerodynamic-to-weight ratio makes aerodynamic componentry, at present, an idea with more cons than pros. Even in road cycling today, components are not usually made aerodynamic, even in time trial and aero road bikes. Given the importance of aerodynamics, the rider's sitting position becomes extremely important. The riding position is similar to the road racing position, but is ultimately dependent on the frame geometry of the bicycle and the handlebars used. Handlebars on track bikes used for longer events such as the points race are similar to the drop bars found on road bicycles. However, in the sprint event the rider's position is more extreme compared with a road rider. The bars are lower and the saddle is higher and more forward. Bars are often narrower with a deeper drop. Steel bars, as opposed to lighter alloys or carbon fiber, are still used by many sprinters for their higher rigidity and durability. In timed events such as the pursuit and the time trial, riders often use aero bars or triathlon bars similar to those found on road time trial bicycles, allowing the rider to position the arms closer together in front of the body. This results in a more horizontal back and presents the minimum frontal area to reduce drag. Aero bars can be separate bars that are attached to time trial or bullhorn bars, or they can be part of a one-piece monocoque design. Use of aero bars is permitted only in pursuit and time trial events. Formats of the track cycle races are also heavily influenced by aerodynamics. If one rider closely follows, they draft or slipstream another, because the leading rider pushes air around themselves. Any rider closely following has to push out less air than the lead rider and thus can travel at the same speed while expending less effort. This fact has led to a variety of racing styles that allow skilled riders or teams to exploit this tactical advantage, as well as formats that simply test strength, speed and endurance. During the early 1990s and individual pursuit events, some riders, most notably Graham Abbree, adopted a straight-armed Superman-like position with their arms fully extended horizontally, but this position was subsequently outlawed by the Union Cycliste Internationale, the sport's ruling body. Recumbent bicycles can actually be ridden faster due to their aerodynamic advantage, but are similarly banned from UCI competition. Main centres, track cycling is particularly popular in Europe, notably Belgium, France, Germany and the United Kingdom, where it is often used as off-season training by road racers. The sport also has significant followings in Japan and Australia. In the United States, track racing reached a peak of popularity in the 1930s when 6-day races were held in Madison Square Garden in New York, The word Madison is still used as the name for this type of race in six-day racing. A group of U.S. velodromes formed the American Track Racing Association, and its membership now includes more than half of all velodromes in the U.S. Race formats. Track cycling events fit into two broad categories: sprint races and endurance races. Riders will typically fall into one category and not compete in the other. Riders with good all-round ability in the junior ranks will decide to focus on one area or another before moving up to the senior ranks. Sprint races are generally between 8 and 10 laps in length and focus on raw sprinting power and race tactics over a small number of laps to defeat opponents. Sprint riders will train specifically to compete in races of this length and will not compete in longer endurance races. Main sprint events: sprint, team sprint, keirin, track time trial. Endurance races are held over much longer distances. While these primarily test the rider's endurance abilities, the ability to sprint effectively is also required in the Madison, points race and scratch race. The length of these races varies from 12–16 laps for the individual and team pursuit races, up to 200 laps for a full-length Madison race in World Championships or Olympic Games. Main endurance events: individual pursuit, team pursuit, scratch race, points race, Madison, omnium, handicap or hare and hounds, miss and out, elimination or devil take the hindmost. Major competitive events: Olympic Games, held every 4 years as part of the Summer Olympics. There are currently 10 events in the Olympics, fewer than appear in the World Championships. At the 2008 Summer Olympics, 7 of these events were for men while only 3 were for women. For the 2012 Summer Olympics, there were 5 events for both men and women. For the 2016 Summer Olympics the events remained the same. UCI Track Cycling World Championships, held every year, usually in March or April at the end of the winter track season. There are currently 19 events in the World Championships, 10 for men and 9 for women. Qualification places are determined by different countries' performance during the World Cup Classic Series held through the season. UCI Track Cycling World Cup Classics. The World Cup Classic Series consists of 4 or 5 meetings, held in different countries throughout the world during the winter track cycling season. These meetings include 17 of the 19 events that take place in a World Championship over 3 days. Events won and points scored by the riders throughout this series count towards qualification places individually and for their nation in the World Championships at the end of the season. The overall leader in each event wears the white points leader's jersey at each race, with the overall winner at the end of the season keeping the jersey and wearing it at the World Championships. Riders compete for either national teams or trade teams. As World Championship qualification is at stake, the events attract a top field of riders. However, it is common for top riders not to compete at all the events of the series, with teams often using the events to field younger riders or attempt different lineups at some events. Top riders can still win the series, or obtain good placing for qualification points for their country, without competing at every event. UCI Track Cycling World Ranking, a ranking system based upon the results in all women's UCI-sanctioned races over a 12-month period. The ranking includes an individual and a nation's ranking and includes the disciplines: individual pursuit, points race, scratch, sprint, time trial, keirin, omnium, team pursuit, team sprint and Madison. National Series. Several countries run a series of national-level events held as part of series throughout each of those countries and sometimes across country borders. Examples of these are the Revolution Track Series held in both the UK and Australia, and the ATRANCS Series in the United States. Track records. In addition to regular track racing, tracks are also the venue for many cycling records. These are over either a fixed distance or for a fixed period of time. The most famous of these is the hour record, which involves simply riding as far as possible in 1 hour. The history of the hour record is replete with exploits by some of the greatest names in cycling from both road and track racing. Originally, attempts were made at velodromes with reputations for being fast. More recently, attempts have moved to high-altitude locations, such as Mexico City, where the thinner air results in lower aerodynamic drag, which more than offsets the added difficulty of breathing. Innovations in equipment and the rider's position on the bike have also led to dramatic improvements in the hour record, but have also been a source of controversy. See also, List of cycling topics, List of cycling tracks and velodromes, 6-day racing, seat track cycling. References. External links, Track Cycling, Union Cycliste Internationale, Track.